The broken thing asterisk. The sky was dark, filled with smoke and ash. Broken buildings stood like skeletons, silent and sad. The war had ended weeks ago, but the planet still looked like it was dying. In a narrow alley, between two cracked walls, a small figure hid. She was thin, too thin. Her skin was dry and gray, covered in dirt and scars. Her clothes were nothing more than torn rags. She held her knees close to her chest, hiding her face. Her name was Kari, but no one had said her name in years. To her master she was nothing, a tool, a slave, thing. Kari whispered to herself, rocking slightly, "I'm dirty, I'm worthless." She said those words every day, not because she believed them, but because if she didn't, the pain felt worse. At least lies gave her something to hold on to. Suddenly, she heard something. Footsteps. Her body froze. Her breathing stopped. "They found me." The sound grew closer. Heavy boots, crunching rubble. Metal armor, clinking. She curled into herself tighter, trying to disappear into the shadows. "Please, let them walk away." But the steps stopped right in front of her hiding spot. "Hey!" A deep voice. Calm. Human. Kari peeked up just a little. A tall man stood there. His armor was scratched, dusty, but clearly Earth military. His helmet was off, and his face looked tired. Not angry, not cruel. Just tired. She whimpered and pulled back. The man didn't move closer. He slowly crouched down, keeping his hands open, showing her he had no weapon aimed. "You don't have to be afraid," he said gently. She stared at him. Her eyes were wide, red from dust and crying. "I'm Sergeant Mark," he said. "We're here to help." Help? Kari had heard that word before, but only as a lie. Her masters used it before beatings, before they sent others like her into mines and never brought them back. "Go away," she whispered. Her voice cracked. Mark reached into his bag, slowly, like he didn't want to scare her. He pulled out a small water bottle and placed it gently on the ground. "I leave this here," he said. "You look thirsty." She didn't move. Mark stood up and took a step back. Then he waited, quietly. Kari looked at the bottle. Her throat was burning. But she didn't trust it. A trick maybe, but minutes passed. The man didn't move. He didn't shout. Didn't laugh. Slowly, very slowly, she crawled forward and touched the bottle. Still watching him. Still waiting for the trap. But nothing happened. She opened it with shaking hands and drank. It tasted like magic, cold and clean. Like something from another world. When she finished, she looked up at him again. Why give this to me?" she asked, voice still small. Mark sat down on a broken crate nearby. "Because you're alive. Because you matter." She blinked. "That didn't make sense. I'm not important," she said. "You are," he said. Tears welled up in her eyes. She shook her head violently. "No, I'm broken. I'm a thing. That's what they said." Mark stood up again, walked slowly toward her. She flinched, but instead of hurting her, he knelt down and did something no one had done in years. He held out his hand. Kari stared at it like it was a weapon. "Come on," he said softly. "You don't belong in the dirt." She looked at his hand, then at the ground. She wanted to believe him, but hope was dangerous. Still, something in her moved, a tiny spark, slowly, painfully. She lifted her hand and touched his. It was warm. Strong. Real. And for the first time in her life, someone lifted her like she was treasure, not trash. As he carried her out of the alley, Kari looked up at the ruined sky and whispered her own name inside her head. Kari. "I'm Kari. Why would you help me?" Asterisk. The inside of the Earth camp was clean, quiet, and terrifying. To Kari, it felt like a trap wrapped in light. Soft beds, warm food, a room with no locks. It was all wrong. She sat in a corner of the room they gave her, knees hugged tight to her chest, The bed was untouched, the blanket still folded, the food untouched. The air smelled like soap and medicine. To most, that might bring comfort. To Carrie it reeked of danger. She had lived too long in darkness to believe in light. Her eyes darted around. No guards, no chains, no masters yelling. Just silence. Kind of silence that screams in your ears. Her heartbeat sounded louder than her breath. The door slid open. She flinched, ready to run, but it was just him. Sergeant Mark, the human who carried her like she was more than bones and dust. He walked in slowly, holding a metal tray. Figured you might be hungry. She said nothing. He placed the tray down gently on the table, something warm, probably soup, and backed away, again showing his hands, open, calm, her eyes locked on the food like it might explode. She didn't trust easy warmth. It always had a cost. Mark pulled up a chair but didn't sit. He stood for a long moment, watching her with eyes that weren't cruel, weren't kind either. They were tired, like a man who had seen too many things and wanted them to stop. You haven't eaten in 2 days, he said quietly. You'll get sick. Kari finally spoke, her voice rough like sandpaper. Why? Mark raised an eyebrow. Why what? Why do you care? He looked at her, then around the small room. That's a long answer, he said. She tilted her head slightly, like a broken bird trying to understand a new sky. I don't need a long answer, she said. I need a true one. Mark sighed. He finally sat down. You ever heard of a place called Earth? He asked. Kari shook her head. He smiled a little. It's far. Blue skies, green trees, loud people. We're not perfect. Far from it, but we try. She didn't speak. Her hands stayed on her knees, clenched. Mark leaned forward. Back on Earth, we have a saying. No one gets left behind. You were left behind, Kari. She flinched at her name. She hadn't told him that. How do you know my name? She whispered. He tapped the translator device on his wrist. We scanned the mark on your collar. Your name was hidden in the code. She touched her neck unconsciously. That rusty metal collar still fused into her skin was the only thing her old masters ever gave her. A symbol of ownership. Now, it had betrayed her identity. And somehow, it made her feel seen. I don't deserve this, she said. Mark shook his head. Yes, you do, she snapped suddenly. Her voice turned sharp. No, I don't. You don't know what I did. What they made me do. I am not clean, not human. I'm not worth it. Silence fell like a weight. Mark didn't flinch. You know what I think? He said. I think you survived. That doesn't mean I'm good. No, he agreed. It means you're strong. That word hit her like thunder. Strong. No one had ever called her that. She looked away. Her throat tightened. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not in front of him. Mark stood up and walked to the door. Before he left, he said one last thing. I'm not here to fix you, Carrie. You're not broken. Just hurt. The door slid shut behind him. For a long time she sat in silence. Then slowly, with shaking hands, she reached for the soup. Meanwhile, in another part of the camp, a dark screen flickered on. A shadowy figure appeared on the holocall. Target located, a voice said. Asset is alive. Human protection detected. The figure replied in a cold, sharp voice. She must be retrieved or destroyed. We cannot let her speak. Back in the room, Kari was asleep for the first time in weeks. No chains, no screams. Only dreams. But in her dream, the past returned. Flashes of electric whips. Burning skin. Laughter of her masters. She was back in the cages screaming for someone to save her. And then Mark's voice echoed. You're not a thing. You're someone. She woke with a gasp, sweat running down her face. The collar on her neck felt heavier than ever. She stood, walked to the mirror across the room, and stared at herself. Who was she? A slave? A survivor? Something more. Then she saw it, on the table. Under the empty soup bowl was a folded cloth. She opened it slowly. It was a scarf. Earth-style, soft blue fabric. Nothing fancy, but it was hers. Something not stolen. Something given. She wrapped it around her neck, over the collar, and looked at herself again. She looked different, still scared. But maybe, just maybe, there was someone inside worth saving. Asterisk names. Have power asterisk. The Earth base was quiet at night. Most of the soldiers were asleep. Lights were dimmed. Machines hummed softly in the background. But Kari was awake. She sat by the window of her small room, watching the stars through the protective dome. They looked so peaceful, so far away. She wondered if one of them was her real home, if she ever had one. Her fingers touched the scarf Mark had given her. She wore it every day now. It didn't change who she was, but it reminded her that someone had seen her, not as a slave, not as a thing. As Kari. But what did that name even mean? She barely remembered the time before slavery. Faces blurred. Voices forgotten. All she had now were pieces, broken images in her mind. A song, a scent, a hand that once held hers. Were those real or dreams? She didn't know, but she wanted. 2. Asterisk. The next morning, Mark brought something different. Not food, not water. A small datapad. Kari looked at it like it might bite her. What's this? She asked. A translator, he said. But not just words. It can help you learn our language, if you want. Why? Mark smiled. Because the galaxy is loud. You deserve a voice loud enough to be heard. She narrowed her eyes. You want me to speak like a human? No, he said. I want you to speak like Kari, loud enough that no one forgets your name. Her name again, that word still felt sharp. She took the datapad slowly, like it was made of glass. That night, she started with the basics. Hello. Thank you. I'm Kari. She paused after that line. Asterisk. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Then, very carefully, she typed another sentence. I was born free. She didn't know if it was true, but it felt true. Asterisk. Over the next few days, things began to change. Kari walked the halls of the Earth base. People noticed her but didn't stare. Some nodded. Some smiled. Some were aliens like her, rescued from different places, wearing fresh clothes, learning to live again. She stayed close to Mark at first. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it mattered. He showed her how to use basic tech, how to ask for help, how to say no when someone made her uncomfortable. That one was hardest. Saying no, because before, no meant pain. Now, no meant power. One afternoon, while exploring the base's library, she found a display screen showing holograms of different planets. A voice from behind said, Earth's the blue one. Kari turned. It was a woman, older, kind eyes, wearing a mechanic's jacket with grease on her hands. I'm Lieutenant Hart, the woman said. You must be the girl Mark brought back. Kari nodded slowly. Kari, that's a strong name, Hart said. Mean something? Kari hesitated, then shook her head. I don't know. Hart smiled. Doesn't matter what it meant. Only matters what it will mean. Kari didn't answer, but the thought stayed in her head all day. What will it mean? That night, Kari had another dream, but it was different. She wasn't in a cage this time. She was in a field. Tall blue grass under 2 suns. A woman was singing. The voice felt warm, like safety. Kari ran to her, but the woman turned around and her face was blank. No eyes, no mouth, just a whisper. Find your name. Kari woke up sweating. She sat up, heart pounding. Find her name? But she already had one, didn't she? Unless... 2 days later, Mark entered the room with a file. This came from an old database. One of the planets your kind used to live on before the war. He slid the file across the table. It has birth records. I searched by your genetic signature. There's a chance. Kari opened it slowly. Her breath caught. There it was. Kari. Venatal, born on planet Nirell-2. Daughter of Lirtal and Munavena. Her hands shook. A real name, a family, a past. Is this true? She whispered. Mark nodded. It's not much, but it's something. Her eyes filled with tears, but not the bad kind, the kind that meant found. But as Kari began to rebuild herself, something dark crept closer, thousands of miles away, in the orbit of the destroyed planet she was taken from. A sleek black ship hovered silently in space. Inside, a tall figure in golden armor stood before a screen, watching footage from the Earth base. A soft voice behind him asked, "Is the asset awake?" "She's awake," he said, "and remembering." He turned. His face was hidden behind a smooth mask. "If she remembers who she is," he said, "then she remembers the key." The other figure frowned. "What key?" "The genetic lock," the masked one said. "Her family guarded the Vault of Echoes. If she opens it, she won't. She must not." Back at the base, Kari stood in front of the mirror again. This time, she wasn't scared. She touched her neck. The collar was still there, but now her name stood above it. She had begun to speak, to walk, to hope, but she didn't know yet that someone was coming, and that her name was the very thing they feared. They want her back. It started with a whisper, a quiet alarm. Barely a sound. One soft blink on the command screen of Earth Base Delta-7. An unknown ship. No ID, no signal. Just sitting in orbit. Watching. Waiting. Sergeant. Mark stared at the screen in the control room, his jaw tight. His instincts screamed louder than any siren. That ship wasn't lost. It was hunting. Down in the refugee quarters. Kari was learning how to breathe again. Really breathe. She sat outside in the garden. Dome, a small patch of green earth soil imported for peacekeeping. Staff and recovering survivors. She dug her hands into the dirt, just to feel something real. Something alive. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of open spaces. She liked the sunlamp warmth on her face. The way flowers tilted up, chasing light. She could almost forget the cages. Until Mark found her. "Walk with me," he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were alert. Soldier eyes. She stood quickly, sensing something was wrong. They entered a private comms room. Kari sat stiffly as Mark pulled up the display. One. Ship. Unmarked. Silent. Watching. Her throat went dry. "That symbol," she said, pointing at a faint curve etched into the ship's side. Mark zoomed in. A jagged arc, subtle, almost like a smile carved into metal. Kari whispered. "That was on the cages." Mark nodded. "Slaver fleet insignia. Modified, not official. Pirates, mercenaries, possibly a remnant group from the Talari Combine." Kari stepped back, shaking. No, they're not supposed to know I'm alive. They shouldn't be here." Mark turned to her. "They do know. And they're not asking for directions. They're asking for you." He handed her a printout, a transmission, translated, * to the Terran command at Delta-7. "You are in possession of restricted property. Return the asset known as Kari Venatal immediately, or face consequences. You have 48 hours. Kari dropped the paper. She felt like the air had been pulled out of her chest. Property. She said the word like it burned her tongue. Mark stood silently for a moment, then asked, "Do you know why they want you back?" She didn't answer, not right. Away. Then she spoke softly. "My family, my bloodline. We kept things, secrets. The Vault of Echoes. I thought it was just a story." She looked at him. "But I think I am the key," Mark nodded. "They're not after you. They're after what's in you." Kari stepped back, her voice rising. "Then give me to them." Mark's head snapped. "Up. What? If I stay here, they'll attack. They'll kill people. I won't be the reason others suffer." Mark's voice was firm now. You are not a bargaining chip. You're not theirs to take, Kari yelled. But I'm not yours either. The silence that followed hit like a gunshot. Mark didn't flinch. No, he said. You're not. Mine, you're yours, and we'll protect you. But only if you let us. That night, Kari stood by her window again, but this time, she wasn't watching the stars. She was watching the exit routes. Hours later. Mark sat reviewing data when the alarm went off. Refugee ID KVT-1 has breached perimeter zone C. Kari was gone. She had taken a food pack, a cloak, and slipped out through the maintenance tunnels. She thought she was saving them, but she didn't know. The enemy was already here. Outside the base, deep in the dustlands, Kari ran. Her boots kicked up dirt. The wind howled against her scarf. She didn't cry. She didn't stop. She knew how to hide, but not from them. Not from the one who used to own her. A ship touched down nearby. Not loud. Not flashy. A slaver's ship doesn't need to announce itself. Out stepped Commander Jareth Soul, the one they called the Collector. Tall, cold, golden mask hiding a face Kari remembered only in nightmares. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Goons beside him raised weapons and swept the area. She come to us, he said. That's what guilt does. Kari crouched behind a fallen structure, heart pounding. She had a weapon, a small earth sidearm, but her hands shook too much to use it. She couldn't fight them, but she could die before going back. Suddenly, movement, footsteps behind her. She turned quickly, gun raised. Mark, he'd found her. Of course he did. He held up his hands. I told you we don't leave our own. You don't get it, she said. They'll kill you. They'll kill all of you. Then we fight, together. No, she shouted. You don't know what they are. Mark stepped closer. Then tell me. But she never got the chance. A blaster shot hit the rock inches beside them. They dropped instantly. Rolling behind cover, the Collector's voice echoed through a speaker. Return the girl. And you all walk away. Mark's jaw clenched. Classic. Bad guy line. Kari stared at the horizon. This was it. The line between slave and survivor. She looked at Mark. I'm tired of running, she whispered. He nodded. Good, because we're tired of letting them chase. In the chaos that followed, gunfire erupted across the desert. Earth soldiers arrived. Kari helped direct escape routes for other refugees. For the first time, she wasn't the one hiding. She was helping others survive. They pushed back the attackers. But the Collector escaped, leaving behind only a message. She cannot run forever. The vault will open. And when it does, all your kindness will turn to ash. That night, Kari stood in the command room, bruised, dirty, alive. She looked at the stars again. They were the same, but she was not. Mark walked up beside her. We'll move you to a more secure base. No, she said. He blinked. No, I'm not leaving again. She turned to him. I've spent my whole life hiding. I want to live now, fight, speak, and when they come again. She touched her scarf. They'll learn my name means more than they ever feared. The price of freedom. The desert wind blew with the heat of a dying star. Kari stood at the edge of the Earth base's outer wall, watching the sunrise spill over the dunes like liquid fire. Her scarf fluttered in the breeze. Dust danced around her feet. She hadn't slept. Sleep brought dreams, and lately, dreams came with memories. Of the vault. Of her mother's voice, whispering stories in the dark. Of a glowing door, etched with symbols, sealed with blood. And of a warning she never understood. Your name will open it, child. But your choice will decide what's inside. Now that choice was knocking. And it came with guns. Inside the command room, Mark was pacing. Scanners picked up movement 2 clicks out, same ship as before. But this time, they brought friends. How many? Asked Lieutenant Hart. Too many, Mark said. They're not here for a conversation. Kari stepped in silently. Everyone turned. She looked calm. Too calm. Let me speak to them, she said. Mark shook his head. You just started living again. We're not letting them take that away. You don't understand, she said. This ends with me, or it never ends. They'll keep coming. More ships, more threats. Lieutenant Hart leaned in. You think they're after the vault? Kari nodded. And they'll burn 1,000 worlds to get to it. Mark looked at her for a long time, then handed her a comlink. If you're going to speak, he said, speak like fire. Meanwhile, outside, the collector stood on a rise of black stone. His golden mask glinting in the sun. Around him stood mercenaries, droids, and something worse. A massive, insect-like war beast known only as a vault sniffer. It could detect genetic codes from miles away. She's here, the collector said. His second in command, a lizard-faced brute named Grox, growled. Permission to breach? The collector didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out a small dataship, pulsing faintly. He smiled under his mask. You open the vault by spilling blood. But to find the vault, you need memory. Inside the base, Kari sat alone in a sealed chamber. She held the cum device in her hand, flicked it on. She didn't speak. Right away, she breathed. Then, this is Kari Vainathal, not the asset, not the property, just me, alive. The enemy cum link hissed back. Return yourself now, or others die. Kari replied, voice firm. You've spent years turning people into shadows. Today, we shine light on your name. She cut the channel. Then she turned to Mark. I hope that made them mad. Mark gave a small smirk. You'd make a decent soldier. I'm not here to fight, she said, then pulled out her sidearm. But I'm not afraid to. The sky exploded. Black ships descended from the clouds like metal vultures. The alarm screamed across the base. Soldiers rushed into position. And Kari? She walked toward the front gate. Mark intercepted her. What are you doing? I'm ending this. You'll get killed. She looked at him. Then at least I'll die standing. Before he could reply, boom, a blast hit the North Tower. Dust and screams filled the air. Kari and Mark were thrown to the ground. When she opened her eyes, her ears rang. Her side ached. But worse, Mark was on the ground, bleeding. No. She crawled to him, hands shaking. His shoulder was burned. He coughed, eyes half closed. I told you not to do anything stupid, he whispered. And you came anyway, she said, voice cracking. He gave a crooked smile. Guess we both suck at following orders. She grabbed his hand. You're not allowed to die, she said. He closed his eyes. Then you better make this count. Kari rose, blood on her hands, rage in her throat. They came to take her? Fine, let them try. She ran, past medics, past crumbling walls, straight into the chaos. Gunfire lit the skies. Earth soldiers battled. The collector's forces. Kari slipped into the shadows, dodging blasts, avoiding scanners. Her goal wasn't to fight. Her goal was to find the vault sniffer, because if she destroyed that, they couldn't track her DNA anymore. She moved fast, remembering every lesson Mark taught her. Breathe, move, think, don't freeze. She found it, the massive insect beast, standing beside Grox. It growled as she approached. Grox turned. Look who ran into the storm. Kari raised her weapon. Grox laughed. You? With that tiny gun? She fired, right into the creature's eye. It screamed, and chaos exploded again. Kari ran as the beast thrashed. Grox chased her, snarling, blades drawn. You were nothing but meat in a cage. Kari turned in mid-sprint and fired again, this time hitting his shoulder. I was never meat, she said. I was the lock, now I'm the key. In the distance, the collector watched from his ship. He tapped his cum. She's not scared anymore. His voice sounded almost impressed. Then we must break something she loves. He looked toward the burning base. Kill the human. Back at the med bay, Mark was fading. A medic shouted for stabilizers. Then the walls shook. Enemy soldiers were breaching. One aimed at the bed, pulled the trigger. But before the shot could land, Kari appeared, tackling the soldier with a scream that tore the air apart. She grabbed the gun, fired. Mark's attacker fell. Kar. I stood over Mark, chest heaving, hands covered in blood and dust. I'm here, she said. He smiled weakly. You came back. She wiped a tear. You're the first person who saw me as more than broken. He blinked. You were never broken. She grabbed his hand, then turned to the door. They want a key? She said. I'll show them what it opens. Final scene of Part 5. Outside, Kari stands alone as the collector's ship hovers down. A voice booms. Final chance. Come with us, or everything burns. She takes a step forward, then stops, looks up, and smiles. No. And from behind her, the entire Earth base rises. Soldiers, refugees, alien allies, united. Mark, still bleeding, stands with support. The collector's voice turns to static. He says just one word. She remembers. And then he leaves, but he'll be back. And next time, the vault will call. *rise. Not run. The base was quiet again, but not because it was safe, because it was waiting for the next storm. Kar. I walked through the corridors with a new kind of weight on her shoulders, not fear anymore, but responsibility. Mark was still recovering. The medic said he'd live, but he'd be out of action for a while. He had tried to get out of bed that morning. Kari had stopped him with a firm hand and a soft smile. You saved me. Now it's my turn. He'd smiled weakly. Don't go full action hero on me. She smirked. No promises. Training begins. Kari stood in front of a mixed group. Human soldiers, alien refugees, former slaves. Some younger than her, some older. All watching her. She cleared her throat, unsure of what to say. Then she remembered what Mark had told her. People don't follow strength. They follow truth. So she told the truth. I was once in a cage, not just a real one. A cage up here. She tapped her head. They told me I was dirty, worthless, a thing. She looked around the room. Sound familiar? There were nods, eyes lowered, a few tears. Kari continued. But one day someone saw me, just saw me, not as property, not as trash, as a person. She stepped forward. They will come again. You know it. I know it. The collector doesn't want me. He wants the vault. And he's willing to burn all of us to get it. She paused. But today, we choose something new. She raised her chin. We rise. We don't run. The new unit under Kari's command. A small unit was formed. The Echo Guard. Named after the Vault of Echoes. Named for the voices that were never supposed to rise again. They trained daily. Combat, communication, hacking enemy signals, drone control. Kari learned alongside them. She wasn't perfect. She tripped. She panicked. She bled. But she kept standing. And others followed. The girl in rags became a leader in armor, but the knight still watched far above. In deep orbit, the collector watched from his throne-like chair aboard the dreadnought. Ashvale. A shadow approached him, a figure with many eyes and no face. The key is awakening. It whispered. She's becoming dangerous. The collector nodded. Let her. You're not stopping her? He turned slowly. No, not yet. She must open the vault herself, willingly. The shadow leaned in. And if she refuses? The collector's mask tilted. Then, we'll take someone she can't afford to lose. Flashback that night. Kari dreamed of her mother again. But this time, the dream was clearer. She was standing at a tall glowing door, her mother beside her. You must choose. Kari, her mother whispered. Choose what? To remember, Or to forget. Why would I forget? Because pain is heavy. Kari touched the door. Her name glowed on the surface. Then her mother's voice changed, deeper, colder. Or you could run, like always. Kari turned, but it wasn't her mother anymore. It was the collector. He smiled behind the mask. You're strong now. But strength doesn't stop destiny. Kari woke up gasping. The dream had felt too real. She stood and walked to the small vault artifact Mark had recovered weeks ago. A broken shard that still hummed with energy. It reacted to her touch. She saw a vision. Briefly, a map. A place. Coordinates. Not far from the base. The vault was calling. Kari's plan. She gathered the Echo Guard. We found it, she said. The vault is real. It's close. Hidden beneath the ruins of my family's old sanctuary. Hart frowned. If we go there, we'll lead them straight to it. Kari nodded. That's the point. Everyone stared. Let them come, she said. Let them bring everything. She looked out at the stars. And then, we bury them beneath our truth. Meanwhile, Mark, still weak but awake, received a secret transmission. It was a visual feed from the collector's ship. The image sharpened, and Mark's blood ran cold. A prisoner, a woman. Her face was older, tired, scarred, but her eyes were. Kari's final sequence, Part 6 Climax. Kari led the team into the canyons beyond the base. Ancient ruins greeted them, overgrown, cracked but alive with old tech. She felt it before she saw it. A doorway, hidden beneath rock and vines, glowing gently with her name. She touched the surface. It opened. A quiet wind escaped, carrying a song. She stepped inside, and at that moment, the sky above exploded. Black ships descending. The collector's forces. Kari turned to her squad. Get inside. Set the charges. Prepare the trap. She turned to Hart. Protect the data. Hart nodded. And you? Kari loaded her weapon. I'm going to greet an old friend. Asterisk. She stepped outside as the collector's ship landed. He emerged. Alone. Brave of you, he said, to come so close to the truth. Kari didn't flinch. You're afraid. Of what I'll remember. Not afraid, he said. Just prepared. He stepped aside. And from the ship walked out a woman. Kari froze. The woman looked up. Tears in her eyes. Kari? Her voice cracked like lightning. Mother? She's not a thing. Asterisk. The reunion. Kari stood frozen. Not from fear. From shock. Her mother, Nuna Vina, stood just a few meters away, chained, bruised, but alive. The collector's voice echoed behind his golden mask. You open the vault, or she dies. Kari didn't move, didn't speak. She stared at her mother, who whispered her name again, voice trembling. Kari. My Kari. Memories came flooding back. Soft hands, lullabies, a kiss on the forehead. She thought they were dreams. They weren't. They were stolen truths. Kari stepped forward slowly. Let her go. The collector's voice darkened. Not until you open the vault. You're the key. Only your name, your DNA, your voice can break the seal. Kari nodded. Then turned to her mother. I'm going to open it. Her mother shook her head, terrified. No, don't. He doesn't want what's inside. He wants to erase it. But it was too late. The vault had already awakened. The vault opens. A massive circle of light carved itself into the canyon floor. Rocks lifted. The ground trembled. Ancient energy pulsed upward into Kari's skin, into her blood. Symbols spiraled across the sky. History and language older than time. Kari stepped into the center. She spoke her name aloud, not whispered in shame, but declared with power, I am Kari Vainatal, daughter of truth, guardian of memory. The vault responded. The air cracked open. A sphere of pure light rose into the sky, not a weapon, but a library. Memories, documents, records. The hidden crimes of the galaxy. Files of every empire that had bought and sold lives. Names of every slaver, every corrupt official, every destroyed world. Proof. Undeniable. Unforgivable. The collector screamed in fury. He raised his weapon to fire at Carrie, but her mother broke her chains and dove into him, knocking him back. The two crashed to the ground. Mark and the Echo Guard arrived seconds later. Kari shouted, "Protect the vault! Upload everything to every channel in the galaxy." Soldiers rushed to secure the data. The collector staggered to his feet, mask cracked. Looked at Kari with raw hatred. "You've killed us all." Kari stepped forward, eyes glowing with the vault's light. "No," she said. "I've exposed you all." He charged her, and this time, she didn't run. The final fight, Kari met him head on. Blades clashed. Sparks flew. The collector was stronger, trained. But Kari was free. Every strike was filled with memory, with defiance, with the pain of 1,000 forgotten names. He knocked her down once. Twice. But the third time she rose. She had something he never would. Purpose. She stabbed the blade into the crack in his mask. He gasped. Stumbled. "You were supposed to be nothing," she whispered. "I was supposed to be quiet." And the collector, the symbol of control, cruelty, and silence fell. A galaxy reacts within hours. The vault's data spread across hundreds of systems. News screens buzzed. Leaked files show galactic slavery covered up for decades. Proof of child experiments under the Talari Combine. Over 300 names confirmed. High lords, senators, war brokers. Riots began. Trials were demanded. And suddenly, one girl's name was on every screen. Kari Venatal, the survivor who unlocked the truth. The courtroom weeks later. Kari stood in a galaxy-wide court, not as a prisoner. As a witness. Thousands watched live across star systems, the council's lead. Judge looked at her. "You understand, you were legally considered property under Talari rule." Kari stepped forward. "Legally," she said, "I wasn't a person. I was a thing, a number, a barcode." She paused, but law is not truth. "And I remember what truth feels like." The judge asked, "And what do you believe you are now?" Kari looked at the crowd, at her mother, at Mark in the gallery. Then, directly into the camera. "I am not a thing. I am not a tool. I'm alive. And I will never be silent again." The new law had passed in less than a day. The Sentient Dignity Act. No species, no being could ever again be labeled as property. Slavery across the known galaxy was criminalized. Hundreds of captives were freed. A voice echoes. Mark sat beneath a quiet tree at the new Echo Sanctuary, a refugee colony built on the ruins where it all began. Kari approached him, wearing a long coat, scars healed, hair longer. Now eyes stronger, he grinned. "So the girl who used to flinch at shadows is now the most dangerous voice in the galaxy." Kari sat beside him. "They call me a symbol," she said. "But I'm just a girl who got tired of being afraid." Mark handed her a datapad. "What's this?" he smirked. "A transmission from Earth's council. They want to offer you a role." Kari blinked. "Ambassador?" He nodded. "Ambassador of survivors." She didn't answer right away, then smiled. "No more cages." He nodded. "No more cages." Kari's voiceover. "I once believed I was worthless. I once thought my voice didn't matter, but someone listened. Someone stayed. Someone believed I was more than a thing. Now I speak for those still in shadows. And when I say my name, I say it for all of us. My name is Kari Venatal, and I am free."